Well, good evening, everyone. It is Shooter. Hey, we're going to take a look at a couple waves, a couple primary waves, a couple cycle waves, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of our presentation, please do review our disclosures. So I'm going to start right off with this chart of Bitcoin. And I want to talk about resistance just a tad bit. In topping patterns, we have our confirmed high, which also appears in what's called a mound. So we have a confirmed high or a divergent high in a mound. So our confirmed high obviously was our December 20 high. Our second drive was February of 21. And then we had a third drive in April of 21 on our first rally in Bitcoin. In our second rally, our first drive occurred in October of 21, and our second drive occurred in October of 21, right next to it, high and tight, the way I like them. They tend to come off a little more aggressively, and this one did. And our third drive came in right around November of 2021. Now, obviously, this was a true three drive because it gave back 100%. This was not a true three drive, and if I probably dug down technically, I'd probably ultimately determine it was an XABC, but I'm not going to do that for the purposes of this meeting here. And simply XABCs are typically two drives, have an X standing high in before the entire count. So we have our confirmed low in June of 22 and our divergent low in November of 22. So that was our low. And that's where we were screaming bloody murder to buy Bitcoin. So now what we have now is, even though we still have a lower high in RSI, right? So it's on our second mound. So it cannot confirm in the second drive. So this mound, it's going to be mound one, our high off of mound one. And just for the purposes of shoots and giggles, right? We're going to land somewhere in this range, I would suggest or think, where our count should come in based on that equality, right around 87,085. Is the number that I get, right? Now I'm backing that out for a second because I want to visually drill down here to the retrace that we're in. Now, we have an internal speed line at 64,885, right? Which basically we came down and tagged that speed line. That gets, it's very highly that gets taken out between this count here at some point, I think. I'm going to use the term I think. The challenge that I've had with Bitcoin is all of our back tests, shallow, actually, that was the first one. It was a little deeper. No back test at all. Extremely shallow. Decent back test, which set our trend support down here, which comes in around 28, which is way the heck down there. That's the challenging part here is we don't have a lot of, hey, this is support and this is support. So this is an air pocket down to 28,000. Now, I'm not going to say it's going there because it doesn't look like it because everybody keeps buying the dip, but we could. From that premise. So a little bit earlier, when I had drafted my original Bitcoin chart, I had said roughly about 65. Count now says to me 63,855.30. So a little bit lower. So this should, get whatever back test in this candle, whatever, whether it be a weekly or daily candle, it's going to, can't really see the weekly candle yet because obviously all of this would be in there. So, I would say probably 382, maybe 50% back on that candle, and then we reject and put in our 638. That's really, we're going to find out whether or not the 50-day is our support, that low at 63,885, if we're going to see the buyers come in there. So now back to my Bitcoin futures chart. So looking at this, there's a couple of ways. First of all, when you're looking at your waves, right? So this is our wave 3, and we're looking at the Fibonacci extension tool. Let's just measure that. Wave 2 to 3. Max we're going to get is 58%. Right back, we've come right back to the 382. Dead to the 382, just basically tagged it, right? We're now building a base going back to the upside. So I would say that that's pretty much a given here, all right? So if we do the same scenario on the reverse side, hold on. I need to get rid of that because I can't change it. So measuring our primary wave 2, intermediate wave 2, intermediate wave 3, and intermediate wave 4. So we're using a fib extension tool, right? And we're going to look at our golden box here. So ironically, our golden box comes in right at where my target one is at 79,885, then we should pull that. Now, what I've also done is I've looked at the breadth of this leg, and I've compared it to our current leg. And I'm getting rationally, equality could come in anywhere. Well, equality actually is right at 83 something. Okay. So when I looked at the fib extension tool, I've gathered about roughly where we are. So I would say that this push on our primary wave 3 should be 85 to 90K. And 90K I like better than anywhere else. Not for any technical reason, for a psychological reason, because that is a huge target for Bitcoin. Huge target. So I think that you're going to have a lot of sellers taking some profits right there, which could be a pretty deep. Now, again, as I'm always talking, whenever we have an ABC correct, right? So this 4, equality. Right now, measuring equality is fairly shallow. So we can become extended or we can become elongated. Or if it's a deeper retrace, this could still be equality and we could become elongated or we could become extended. I don't think that happens here. I mean, it's just, when I look at the structure of Elliott wave, there are certain outcomes. There are known outcomes to me. So unless the count changes and morphs to something else, as long as it's true to the thesis of Elliott wave, then there's only so many outcomes. And so at this point, it's a given whether we're going to put in, 79, 85, or 90 to me. One of those targets is a given here. So this was a buy the dip moment. Now I want to go back to my original Bitcoin chart. And, right now we're looking for 63. So I would be scaling in whatever you're buying in BITO. Okay. I don't like BITO's chart. Okay. It's bearish. I like it. I like GBTC's better. Okay. Now I like Hood's better. It's held the flag. I like Mara's chart better, even though I think Mara we should put off until after the halving, because I still think miners get clobbered. Okay, that's my 2 cents. That's it. All right, coin even looks better. All right, so, and let me start with coin, and then I'm going to do a quick recap on markets and then give it to you. All right, so this are the scaling in numbers that I see. So, I'm going to print this. I'm going to multitask in this video. All right, so our targets are like 180, scale. Look, 4 pieces here. 241 roughly, 220, 204, and 189. And of course, I'm avoiding Bitfarms, even though Bitfarms looks like it's got a good bottom right here. Good bottom, good bottom. I'm skipping it because it's a minor, right? Marathon, I'm going to leave that up to you. I still think we should wait to the halving, so I'm not going to structure how I would scale, right? And since we have absolutely no range on Hood, just buy whatever piece you're going to buy. That's pretty much it. GBTC. All right, I had to yell at the puppy. He was howling at the fire truck. All right, so scaling, I would put a little piece on now in GBTC if you're buying it. Then, going to come in and I'm going to bring in my fib tool and just overlay what's here. Maybe around 55, 54 be my next spot. And coming down to our next level, maybe around 54, it was 56, 54, and a little broader on the standard, So I would break it into 4 blocks. Now, what I typically do is I do a good to cancel order, and in these you only can buy common shares anyways, right? So what I'm going to do is do a small lot, 10 shares, whatever it is, right? And then when it gets filled, it's going to change my P&L, right? And I'm going to look at it. Now I'm going to go look at the chart. And maybe if you have a question about where we are at any time, by the way, if you have a question about a chart at any time, I have no problem giving an opinion. Now, sometimes it might be 3 seconds before I respond, and other times it might be 3 hours. It just depends on what I have going on and really where I am that second. All right, let's jump over to BITO. So I have printed a copy of coin, GBTC. Hood is just a buy. I'm going to print a copy of that too right there so I can stick it in there. And I'm going to put those in chat for you. I'm going to put a copy of Mara there as well. Copy of coin. I think I already put one in there. Do it again. And I'm going to even put a picture of Bitfarms in. And then BITO. Okay, now, I'm going to put the chart in. I'm going to just actually move this. I don't think our next entry is down here. I don't know why I see that in BITO. That's actually, the ETFs, historically GBTC, okay, I have no history on BITO, have been precursors to moves in Bitcoin, okay? But GBTC is not seeing it, right? BITO is. Forgive me, I got to bring back an eye. Oh my goodness, we actually got a 90-minute scan on this thing. Lord have mercy. All right, so our target one is up at 54 bucks on this. It's a minor wave too. Recognize that, minor. So that's our intermediate wave. Oh, we're going to have fun with this right here now. This gives me some breath. Hold on a second. We is going to have some fun here. Some of you don't. I love doing this. Okay, we're going to come out to the weekly. So this is an intermediate wave, degree intermediate wave. Boom. We're going to come out to our weekly. Look at where we measure on this. The way this thing measures. Now, show our channel in there. So that is an intermediate wave. So our target one, well, that just made my night getting a scan on IBIT. And there's no way to measure a Fibonacci tool, but let's just, well, there is. I mean, I'm just going to measure our intermediate wave one, wherever it might land, and obviously adjust it as it becomes more defined. So, our first golden box is at 62.33. I'm going to save that one too. Throw IBIT in there. BITO. Let me print a copy of that for you. Save that there. I will post all of those in chat. I'm just going to post them into the ETFs because that's probably the fairest way to put them, or a place to put them. All right, let's go and take a look at equities. Just do a quick recap. Dollar, double top maybe, rejected 104.88 at this point, but I'm going to go back to my IDK. I just don't know. I'm not, something's bothering me with Japan and what's going on with bonds. I just can't figure out what it is. That's, something's bothering me. All right, so with that, this is still a headwind for indices. SPY, we broke below our trend support, just broke below it, but we closed the candle, the off numbers right on that line. Count says 514, then we back test 528, and then we come back in and do this 519, and then ultimately put it in our target one at 535.90. It says we do not break down. This will be your tell because the count will change, okay? This will become a downtrend if this gets down and closes somewhere around 507, and this will become a downtrend. And we will roll over now instead of up here and head towards that 485 level. So that's my thought as far as the SPY is concerned. And notice the demeanor change. Notice how we are sort of looking rolly with that last candle. Rolly. And when we really look rolly in the NASDAQ, like it's just going to roll. All right. So all these counts up here, all these northern counts, this euphoric counts could all disappear. Right. For the NASDAQ closed below the 50-day, we're going to look for 50% back between the 50-day and the 200, about 413. Okay. Looking at the Russells. Now, I've got a really confined look in the Russells because the Russells, to me, and it really depends on where we measure our fibs, it's going to retest. This is the shallow retest. Puts 50% back at 191 from where we are now. It's a pretty decent rejection candle. I mean, we've had some volatility here. So I think it really depends on just how much that continues to affect markets, right? So, however, we do have a potentially aggressive box. If we take the entire leg, it puts us down about 170 again. So we see how this band here is, we're up in this band. I mean, it took forever to get up there. We were in this band. See this band right here? Then we gapped up above. Now we've put in a lower band. We're going back up. So chances are we're going to go into this band range, 242, this 204 range, do the same thing. And, I would say that it's going to fall off the cliff from there. I would think so. Because, when an instrument or a stock trades like that, it tends to stay within those ranges. It's a great trading instrument, by the way, when it does that. Once you have your defined top, roughly breaks above this, you knew that was an overshoot. Drive 1, drive 2 grouping, drive 3, it's an overshoot. Always. What happens on the drive 3? It can overshoot. So, always. So, looking at TLT, we've now got a bearish count down to about 89. Took out my BE stop on TLT, and actually I was glad it took me out because within 2 hours, it would have been a red trade. So, even though they were only runners in there, but still. Now, that could extend with more hesitation from the Fed. Note, this is an ABC. Note, this is an equal ABC pattern. Okay, so we know there's one of three outcomes. It extends, equality, it extends, or becomes elongate, pretty much in all cases. But that's what I have for today, folks. Great trading. Until next time, hopefully that helped with your positions.